Hello, I'm Alistair McIntyre for Electric Scotland. It's a long time since I've done a video about the site and what's going on, so I thought I'd really update you. I'm talking the last week in October of 2013. What I've been doing since I last gave a little talk about Electric Scotland is I've actually been working with YouTube. Now, one of the backgrounds to this is that obviously my site is the largest online resource on the history of Scotland and the Scots, both at home and abroad. But because I work mainly with antiquarian material, I find that at the end of the day, an awful lot of the information I have is text. And I'm aware that there's not a great deal of people who want to read lots and lots of text. It's nice to have some pictures and stuff like that, but most of the old antiquarian books didn't have any pictures, or at best they had a few black and white pictures. So I've always taken the time that every time I put up a new book about an area of Scotland, is I always write to that area, either the council or the town or the library or whatever, and I usually ask them, is there any chance you could send me a wee selection of pictures about what the area looks like today? And if you'd like to add any kind of touristy wee bits of information or economic, you could maybe send me some notes and I'll add it to the book. Because at the end of the day I thought to myself, well, here you are, you're reading all about the history, it'd be nice to maybe bring it up to date and actually see what the place looks like today. But I have to say that no one, I mean, not even one person has ever actually sent anything in after me sending these emails. That only applies in Scotland, it also applies in America and Canada and New Zealand, Australia, Poland, China. Everywhere I write asking, can you give me a little bit of help to flesh out an old book? Basically it's silence, or else it's, sorry, can't help. So it was maybe 6 months or so ago that I suddenly thought to myself, you know, I wonder if YouTube's got anything. And so I went to YouTube, and actually I've been absolutely amazed at what is available on YouTube. So I've actually worked my way back through all the books that I have on the site, and in almost every case I've managed to find at least a small video about the town or the area. So I've been able to embed those videos onto the site. And so I've actually worked quite hard over this last 6 months or so to go back through the site and see what I can pick up in YouTube. One of the examples that I can see, because some of the information is from like BBC documentaries, for example, that have been done over the years and now they're available on YouTube. So I've actually got a complete history of Scotland in video on the site now. But on top of that, I've discovered some very good kind of touristy videos. I've also found videos on prehistoric Scotland and some of the amazing buildings they found in Orkney that go back about 5,000 years. I found all kinds of things. I've also found some, I think there was about 15 very good clan histories that I found. So where I found a clan history, I've embedded the video onto the history page of that clan on the site. But I've also found lots of little snippets. For example, one of the explorers to the Arctic, I think just very recently they were putting up a memorial plaque to him. And I did a wee search on YouTube and lo and behold, someone's actually done a wee documentary on his life. So I thought, oh, that's brilliant. So I was able to embed that into that Significant Scots page. Equally well, I've had the same situation when I've been working on Canada. For example, I found a 17 video documentary about the history of Canada. And so I've now put that up. The trouble is when you go on YouTube, they don't always show you everything going as like video 1, video 2, video 3. Sometimes it goes video 1, video 2, video 7. And you think, oh crikey, where's number 3 gone? So I spent time finding them and then placing them in order onto the pages. So I've done quite a lot of work of that in the Electric Canadian side as well as the Electric Scotland side. I've also been able to do some profiles of other significant people. And I say there's even some small videos on the histories of certain battles that have gone on. So nowadays you'll find pretty well throughout the site videos to go with all the text. And I feel maybe especially today because a lot of the younger people don't seem to have the time to really read texts. They're more geared to snippets here and there. So quite often these videos will give you a good starter, and if you really get interested in it, then you can read the book, which will obviously give you much more information. One of the videos I did was about Glover, who was called the Scottish Samurai. But basically he more or less was the father of modern Japan. He brought the industrial age to Japan, and he's certainly quite revered there as well. So there was a 1-hour documentary on him, which I've now embedded on his page, but there is some other background on there, and I've got some very good pictures which Mitsubishi Company kindly let me have and gave me a little write-up about him. So all in all, I'm starting with using the YouTube and all the in text that I've been putting up. I've certainly got to, I think I'm getting quite proud of what we're offering to everyone when they come to the site. I have been working on the newsletter as well, because since the last time I did a video, we've always done a newsletter, but I decided that I wanted to try and get a better feel for how many people were reading it, so I started to put it up in our Electric Scotland community. So every week I go to Electric Scotland community, I go to the Electric Scotland group of forums, and in there you'll see the newsletter forum, the weekly newsletter forum. And so every week I put up the newsletter there. But I also do a PDF version of the newsletter, which actually might even be more readable, because as long as you're reading the PDF online, all the links will work to take you to any of the articles that I'm mentioning in the newsletter. And of course, if you look at the main menu under Electric Scotland, you'll see that there is a newsletters menu there, and if you click on newsletters, you can pick all our old ones if you wish to read any of the older ones. In the newsletter, if I hear of some event going on or something like that, I'll normally tell you under the news, but then I go through what we've done new for the Electric Canadian site. I also tell you about the Flag in the Wind, and then I tell you all the stuff that's new on Electric Scotland. As it happens, a lot of the stuff that's on Electric Canada is still Scottish, because I still come across a lot of Scottish stuff in Canada. But because I've now got the Electric Canadian site, instead of putting it up under the Canadian section of Electric Scotland, I actually put it directly on the Electric Canadian site now. So that's a little bit of a background there. It's funny though, I still find amazing articles, amazing people. I mean, for example, we're working at the moment on a chap that he put together 16 volumes of modern Scottish poets. Now, that's quite incredible. I don't know of anyone that put together 16 volumes of anything to do with poetry. And this is just modern Scottish poets, not British poets or world poets, just Scottish poets. I mean, there was umpteen of them, so poetry was obviously extremely important in the old days in Scotland. I'm not so sure how important poetry is today, but I know there's a lot of people that still enjoy it. And I will say, if you take all the poetry we've got up on the site, I would guess we're probably the largest poetry site in the world, in the online world anyway. But this particular modern poets, I say that's 16 volumes, and every time he picks a poet, he'll give you 2 or 3 of his poems, or her poems, so you can get an idea, and also gives you a little biography about them, and a bit of a critique on what he thought of them, basically. But that's just a wonderful collection. We're on volume 9, I put 9 up today as it happens, so there's whole tons to read in that. we're still working on well, put it this way, the thing that's always amazed me, I found out only last year that children's stories on the site were just hugely popular. In fact, the most visited page on the site is actually the children's stories index page. So again, if you go to our menu, you'll see there's a menu item called children's stories. Click on that, and as I say, that's actually the most visited page on the site, despite the fact that we're the largest Scottish history site online. So that was another eye-opener, but bearing in mind that the children's stories were designed to try to encourage the younger people to enjoy reading, to read the stories, enjoy them, and I hoped as they enjoyed them they would learn something from the story, but I also hoped that it might encourage them to go a little deeper and maybe read some of the other stories that we have on the site. So it was my investment basically in the future, those children's stories, and we have certainly something like 800 children's stories up. So if you read one a night, that's a few years worth of stories, that's for sure. So it's a great place for parents to go to find stories. I don't know if parents still read stories to their kids, but hopefully they do, because it gets the imagination going. I know my parents both, you would tell me stories at night when I was a youngster. I always enjoyed them. So that's a little bit where I've been going. The Electric Scotland community, we don't have that much participation in it. I think a lot of people go there to read the weekly newsletter, but as actual messaging back and forward go, there's maybe a dozen that might be, putting messages up on a regular basis. I feel that's a shame, because certainly the ones that put messages up, we're all good friends, and we like to hear what people are doing in Australia and New Zealand and Canada and Britain and so forth. So it would certainly be nice to see more people getting more active in there and just spending a wee bit of time. But nevertheless, we're just about to upgrade. I think we will hope to have had the upgrade by this coming weekend. We're moving from version 4 of our software to version 5. So we've got arcade games in there you can play. Although I don't mind people coming in playing games. It'd be nice if we get the odd message so that we get to meet more of you. But that's the Electric Scotland community, and you click forums in the menu to get there, or just go to electricscotland.org and you'll get in. You do need to be a member to post messages, but that's just simple security. We did get hacked actually a little while ago, and we also had a bit of a session where we were getting tons and tons of spam messages in there. We changed our procedures somewhat, and it seems to have more or less eliminated the spam messages, thank goodness. I don't know how people can spend so much time trying to swamp a system with spam, but they obviously get great enjoyment out of it. Obviously pretty feeble-minded people, but that's the way of the world these days, unfortunately. Anyway, there you go. I was mainly wanting to tell you that I've made a particular point of trying to include YouTube videos, because I spent a lot of time searching for stuff to meet what we already have on the site, and I would imagine that work will continue for quite some time. And as I say, I encourage you to visit, encourage you to have a look around the site and see what you can find, and I hope you enjoy your time with us. And if there's anything that you find we're not covering or haven't covered, please send us an email. Say, could you cover this aspect of Scottish history, or tell us more about this? And certainly if I get that kind of feedback, I'll do my best to find that information for you. Okay, so there's my little summary on Electric Scotland and what we've been doing recently, and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for listening.